In this short presentation, I'm going to share with you both my research project and website project, which is based on the idea of the next generation assessments in Ohio and their relationship to hands-on professional development. So what are the next generation assessments? Essentially, we're looking at two test environments that will be used for online testing starting in February 2015. The two environments are TestNav and AIR. AIR stands for American Institute of Research. The TestNav environment is used by the PARC Consortium and will be for testing in English language arts and mathematics, and the AIR environment in Ohio is being used for science and social studies. The tests are going to be interactive. They will have drag and drop elements, click to highlight. They will have multiple part questions. They will make extensive use of manipulatives such as virtual protractors, rulers and calculators, and also simulations are used in the AIR tool. Multimedia such as video and audio are used in both assessment tools. So what is the purpose of it? Essentially, it is to determine the student's mastery of subject area content, but not their technology abilities. Lack of technology skills could negatively impact students' performance in these assessments, so we want to try and eliminate that as a variable. So what are the skills that they need? We have basic, intermediate, and advanced skills, and I've listed these here. So starting with the basic ones, being able to scroll, drag and drop. You move into the intermediate ones. These include some of the tools, like the video player, using a drop-down, using the text highlighter. And then in the advanced section, being able to plot points, add and remove points, type with the text editor, use the equation editor, the scientific and basic calculator, and the manipulative protractor. With all of these skills in mind, I developed a website in April of 2014, which was designed to provide a one place where you had access to all the different tools and resources that you needed to prepare your students for the next generation assessments. To date, we've had over 21,000 page views and 4,700 unique visitors to the site, so it is being used extensively by teachers in Northwest Ohio. Just looking at the main page here, on the left-hand side, I have direct links to both the Next-Gen and the PARC tests, and as new direct links to the tests become available on the PARC and Next-Gen websites, then I add them to this section on the website. In the center section here, any new resources that we come across, materials that get released from Ohio Department of Education, anything that's going to be helpful in preparation of students, I feature as resources here. And on the right-hand side, I include the latest news and information on the website itself, and any new links to resources I put down the bottom. Across the top, we have, this is the home page. I have a section on items and tools that we'll look at in a moment. Question types is another section. Then I have a page that has test links, and that includes the blueprints and other information about the tests themselves. I have a teacher resources section which highlights other good websites that people can get information and use to practice for the tests. The practice skills section divides up the different skills and gives access to Chromebook compatible websites, and also I have a section on Chromebook tips. A lot of the districts that NWOCA serves are now moving to Chromebooks, and so we have been asked to place an emphasis on resources and things that will work on the Chromebooks. The main thing that doesn't work on the Chromebooks is anything that uses Java. So here we now look at the items and tools in the two environments. So in TestNav, the PARC Consortium for Language Arts and Math, On the left-hand side here, I list the different kinds of item interactions that you're going to find. When you click on one of these, it will pop open in its own little window, and you'll see a screenshot of what that question looks like. This is a good way for teachers to introduce the different types of questions, get their students used to what they're going to see in the test. The middle section talks about the tools that are available in this particular environment. There are some toolbar tools that the students will be able to interact with. The access to these tools is determined by the test administrator and based on the personal needs profile of the students. Again, the accessibility tools are also determined by the PNP, and a lot of these items are found in the menu on the right hand side. There's a drop down menu that gives you access to the accessibility tools. Key elements I'm going to talk about later in the presentation: thought to text, the equation editor, multi-part questions and dependent questions, and I have a link here for information on the equation editor, and Park is promising a tutorial on that coming up. On the next generation side, in the AIR environment, it was updated in October, earlier this month. You now no longer have to answer a question in the AIR environment before moving to the next one. Previous to this, the two environments were different. In Park, you could leave a question unanswered and move to the next one, but in AIR, you were given an error dialog and you had to provide an answer before moving to the next one. In both environments, you can flag questions, and in both environments, when you get to the end, you will be given a review page that lets you know if you have unanswered questions or flagged questions. The item interactions are similar, again in the AR environment. Again, the use of simulations is one of the things that is particular to this environment. Here are the new navigation tools. In the updated environment, the test tools are available from the menu in the toolbar at the top. There will also be a periodic table, formula, and calculator available for the science tests. And then the context menu, you can't see the screenshot, but each question has a context menu, and if you right-click on it, it gives you access to the ability to use a highlighter or a magnifier. Key elements I've identified for the next-gen test would be in some of the questions where you are adding plot points or other things. You need to understand that you select the delete tool and then select the thing that you want to delete. So interacting with those and adding and removing points is a key element in the AIR test. Now we'll look at some key item interactions. Here we're looking at thought to text. The students are expected to be able to read through a story or stories and then provide an answer in the box provided. This is very different from the typical writing format that happens in most classrooms, where the students will go through a draft process and then finally come up with a finished product. They're going to have to do their first and second draft and reorganization of everything inside of this text box. They're going to be asked to thought and then provide text. We want to make sure that we can give students opportunities in the classroom to practice this skill so that when they come into the test they don't feel uncomfortable, and they need to know that things like spell check and grammar check are not included in an environment like this, and that they need to proofread their writing. The equation editor in the Park assessment is going to be a huge thing for students to understand. The answer to questions is formulated inside of this equation editor. They interact with it using the buttons across the top and these buttons and sections on the side. You can also use the keyboard to enter text, but they need to understand how to move the cursor around inside of there. There is a tip sheet that provides information on this. Multi-reference source questions refers to questions where you have multiple references that you have been reading, and clicking on each of these tabs will take you to a different section, and then you use the scroll bar here to read that particular story. And then the essay question that you're being asked to write would include information from those three references. A multi-part question is where part A is related to part B. You may have some information that you read, and then you have to provide an answer, and then usually part B is related to the answer in part A. You may be asked to support a particular answer or a choice that you made in part A with, in this case, two statements in part B. Let's look at skills and question types. I kept up these two particular screens after the revisions in October to the AIR environment. The simulations, for example, were removed from the examples that we had. So I've kept these up so that you can see in context the different types of questions that you have in English language arts and in math and in science and in social studies. These have then been now divided up into separate grades, and in fact in the PARC assessment we now have individual links to individual tests. Some key skills here: drag and drop would be clicking on some text, dragging it down and putting it into a target at the bottom. And the students need to understand that sometimes the target may be below the bottom of the screen, and if they click and drag it downwards, then the screen will scroll up and they will be able to then drop it into the target. Scrolling is incredibly important. You need to put your mouse into the area where you're going to be scrolling, and then there is either a scroll bar or you can use your scroll wheel. There will be two scroll areas in each question. This scrolls the whole page. This just scrolls the section that you need to read, or the passage. Simulations were included in the old practice example tests, and I include the screenshots of them in the current website for completeness, but it would ask the students to run a simulation on the left here and then a writing prompt on the right. Question types include single choice and multi-choice, and we need to draw the distinction. A single choice question, we have typically in the past called those multiple choice. They're in fact a single choice, and they're denoted by a round radio button. Multi-choice questions often will require you to provide two or more details or other answers, so you would be checking more than one, and these would be square. Practice skills section of the website has been expanded to include resources that are available and can be used on the Chromebooks. So in this case we can use Mac, Windows and Chromebooks, and a limited amount will work on the iPads. So in the case here we have a couple of calculators and a couple of protractor sites that will work with the iPad. The rest of them are all flash-based and will not work with the iPad. The DOM equation editor is a good one for practicing using and formulating equations in an online environment. And I also have tabs here for online writing skills, typing skills, and mouse skills. The last section of the website deals with the Chromebooks, and I've started to put some videos up there which explain how to do scrolling and these other kinds of activities on a Chromebook. The research project itself was based around this website. I put together a 19-question SurveyMonkey survey, and I invited participants at the end of the training session to participate in that via a web link. I've had 55 respondents to this to date, and they're from 9 school districts in Northwest Ohio, and you can see Hicksville, North Baltimore, Archbold, Central Local, Patrick Henry, Swanton would be the lion's share of the districts that have participated. Under subject taught, language arts was the most common one that was chosen, and they could choose as many of these as they wanted to. So this represents a cross-section of the teachers, and some of them would be teaching in multiple subject areas. Under years teaching, we can see that a range of 6 through 15 years would be the majority of the teachers. So we can see that in the older teachers we have seemingly less, and that would be borne out by the number of retirements that we've seen in recent years. Not surprisingly, 75% of the teachers were female, 25% male. In this question, I asked them how they felt before the professional development. How prepared were they for the next generation assessments? And you can see quite a few, more than just 18% were not well at all. And then we had mildly well, fairly well, and quite well. No one was extremely well prepared. And then afterwards, all of our not well at alls were up to either mildly well, fairly well, which was the majority. So that's encouraging. And even just slightly less than 30% were quite well prepared, and one person was extremely well prepared. So who has taken the practice test? In the teachers, it was about half. 48% said yes, they had taken the practice test, and that's encouraging. But only 26% of students had taken some kind of practice test. And I think in order to be successful, the students need to all have taken the practice tests. When looking at the professional development models for the research assignment, described what they call the old paradigm of professional development, which is what for the most part, we still see in place today. District-sponsored professional development, which is often driven by mandates such as student learning objectives, SLOs, the third grade reading guarantee, and the next generation assessments. Typically, these training sessions are short in duration, and also often typically are hands-off. In the new paradigm, they looked at how professional development was done overseas, and typically they're making use of things like professional learning communities, where groups of teachers get together and develop and have sustained professional development on a particular topic or topics. They collaborate together, active learning is involved, and there's quite a lot of hands-on. So, based on those ideas, I asked them what type of training did they prefer. Obviously, this is going to help to engineer training sessions for our teachers that are going to meet their expectations. And so, generally, we saw there that a combination of overviews, in-depth, and hands-on is what they wanted. And that was where they could choose one of those. They chose a combination. Where they could choose as many as they like, it looks like small group hands-on was the most popular of the choices there. When we actually looked at hands-on versus hands-off, 81% said that hands-on was very useful, and 65% in a separate question said that hands-off was very useful. 34% said it was somewhat useful, and only 16% said that hands-on was only somewhat useful. And interestingly, even one person said that it wasn't useful at all. So you're not going to be able to please all of the people all of the time. If we asked them what they wanted more of, we had it was very close between more hands-on or more time to explore. But we're looking at roughly almost an even three-way split for those things. A few less wanted more explanations. For more information on the next generation assessments and to see the website live in person, you can use either of these two web addresses, and I invite you to check out and get some more information. Thank you for listening.